What's good, everybody, and welcome to Body Bag Podcast. I'm Chris Thomas, and with me, as always, Broke Writer Dave.
How we doing, everybody?
And everything makes sense now. I found out something like 2 seconds before I hit record that it makes the last 2 hours that I spent make total sense. I don't know if I should. I don't know if I should just leave that as a little thing until we get to our movie review, or if I should just kind of, or if I
A little
might forget.
taste for our what's going to be coming up in our movie review when we get there.
All right, just remind me when we get there when I say that everything makes sense now.
Yeah.
All right, but we're reviewing House on Haunted Hill a little bit later.
Yes.
The remake.
The 1999 remake, not the Vincent Price classic.
I can now officially say I've seen both
Yeah.
since this was my first time seeing that,
Really? Okay.
and it'll be interesting to kind of compare the two once we get there.
Yeah.
But I'll leave that because I literally just watched the ending right now. I was just finishing up watching it and then we hit record, so it's all fresh. But I will leave that.
Yes.
But we have homework.
We had homework. Yes.
Yes, we did. I believe I gave you Death Becomes Her,
Yes, you did.
and I had A Knock at the Cabin. Since I'm going to definitely have a lot to say when it comes to House on Haunted Hill, why don't you go ahead and get us started with your homework first?
All right. So you gave me Death Becomes Her, a 1992 dark comedy,
Yeah, we're going
Kind-
90s.
kind of in the same realm of The Burbs.
A little bit of comedy, a lot of macabre stuff in there.
I mean, it says comedy, but this movie wasn't
It's dark.
funny.
You didn't think so?
No, I found this movie boring.
This movie was hilarious. I love this movie, Death Becomes Her.
Like, it has a great cast of Meryl Streep, Bruce Willis, Goldie Hawn, but I just found it so boring when I was watching it last night.
Really?
Yes.
That's weird. That movie's very entertaining to me. And it
I
also
get-
had,
The humor just wasn't there for me. I was like,
I kind of put that humor around the same level as kind of like Beetlejuice. Like it kind of has the same feel.
yeah,
All right, well, I guess I
yeah,
know.
I don't know, yeah.
All right, well, go ahead and just explain.
So the story follows like a novelist who loses her fiance to an actress who is also her friend, causes her to kind of put on some weight and kind of hit rock bottom, end up in a mental institution.
Right.
Fast forward, she's lost all the weight, looks exactly the same she did about 12 years prior, and she has kind of like a book premiere party, and she invites her friend, played by Meryl Streep, who stole her husband. And from there, she kind of like plays both sides of it. Like, she talks to Meryl Streep alone. She's like, I don't blame you for what happened. It was all his fault. He was weak.
Meryl Streep is kind of like she doesn't even want to be there because she's aged and
Yeah, an aging actress looking down as her prime is winding down. And the husband, played by Bruce Willis, used to be a plastic surgeon who's now an undertaker. And then she gets Bruce Willis alone. She's like, I don't blame you. It's what she always does.
right.
And she tries to slowly try to get Bruce Willis to come back
fall back
Yeah.
in love with her.
Yeah. And through this, Meryl Streep is like getting advice from people on ways to look younger.
Yeah, she's very much that her golden years are behind her, and
Yeah.
she's trying to she wants to stay in the public eye and limelight. And
Yeah. And then after she sees Goldie Hawn looking as good as she did when, back in her earlier years, she decides to go see this weird, like, doctor she was suggested, who ends up, it gives her a potion of, was it?
immortality juice or something.
Yeah, immortality juice, basically.
Makes you young forever, basically,
Yeah, you don't age anymore.
and your body like kind of
Yeah.
reverts back to what it was when it was in its prime.
Yeah. And then,
But it is
Well,
expensive.
very expensive.
It's like
And while
they don't
she's-
tell you a number, but it's like
Yeah.
but it's I think she says it's tailored to everybody has a different price range, and so
Yeah.
you got to assume it's like, well, you're gonna have to give up a lot for this.
Yeah. And while she's doing that, Goldie Hawn is chatting with Bruce Willis up, and they're coming up with a plan to kill her
Yeah.
so they could be together.
Right.
And as Meryl Streep gets home, Goldie Hawn sneaks out, and her and Bruce Willis get into an argument, which leads to him pushing her down the stairs.
Yeah. Meryl Streep didn't have this potion for.
Since she would have died. Yeah.
She had this potion for less than like 2 hours.
And she died.
And she gets pushed down the stairs. Oh, and it came with some caveats.
Yeah.
The potion, like he's like, you can take this potion, but you have to every 10 years you have to kind of uproot yourself and like move, or else people will get suspicious. And keep your body healthy. You know, take care of your body, basically.
So the fact that she snapped her neck and
the nerve of her of getting pushed down the stairs and breaking her neck.
And that causes Bruce Willis to be like, oh my god, I killed my wife. So he calls Goldie Hawn and he's like, I did it. I killed her. And they're like, okay, what do we do next? And Meryl Streep gets up and her head's on backwards.
Yeah, she's dead. Well, yeah, she's alive.
She's alive, but not really. But yeah.
I gotta tell you, man, as you're explaining me this story, it's making me even more bummed out that you didn't find it funny, that you found it boring.
Yeah, so he's like, I don't know what you do. Maybe it's like a dislocated neck or something.
Yeah, maybe you just need to go to the doctor.
Yeah, takes her to the hospital. Doctor's like, I don't know what's going on here.
You don't got a heartbeat.
Yeah. And then she passes out, and then they're like, oh, she's dead, and takes her to the morgue. So Bruce Willis goes down there, grabs her from the morgue, and takes her home. And he starts doing like his Undertaker stuff to make her look radiant and alive.
Yeah, that's what his job was, basically to prepare the bodies for open casket funerals. So he kind of knows all right, you do this to make basically so you don't look dead. Yeah.
And then Goldie Hawn comes to the house with all the stuff to bury Meryl Streep, but she's not dead, so.
Ernest, we agreed with what we were gonna do.
Yeah.
He's upset.
Yeah, and causes a huge ruckus, which causes Meryl Streep to grab a shotgun, shoot Goldie Hawn.
Yep.
So they think she's dead. A couple minutes later, she gets up, and they realize, oh, she took the immortality potion as well.
So they both realize, well, we're immortal. We can't really. Well, they try to kill each other, but
yeah, they can't. And this causes Bruce Willis to just freak out. He's like, you know what? I'm gonna fix you guys up, and then I'm leaving.
I will say
I'm not doing this. I'm done.
Most of the humor that I got was definitely from Bruce Willis in this movie.
Yeah, he was probably the best part of the movie.
When Goldie Hawn comes back to life and she's walking around and he's like, it's another miracle.
Yeah. She just has a huge hole in her stomach. Yeah. So he fixes him up, and as he's getting ready to leave, they're like, what's going to happen when he's gone? How are we going to keep ourselves together? Yeah.
They've reconciled. It was like some old high school bullshit that they it all stemmed from, I took your boyfriend and you thought I was cheap. And, and then they, after a decade and a half of them
hating each other,
they bury the hatchet.
Buddy, So they come up with a plan to force him to take the potion.
You need him alive.
Yeah, need to keep him alive. So they take him to the doctor, and she's having a party with all of her clients that she has given this potion to.
Elvis included.
Elvis, Marilyn Monroe, people of that nature.
Oh, and I forget how old because this woman is very young. This is like a supermodel-looking woman, the woman who's given these immortality potions.
Yeah, when she was first talking to Meryl Streep, she's like, how old do you think I am? She's like, I don't know, 27? Something like that. And she's like, no, I'm 71.
And he's like, oh, shit.
oh, okay.
And she loves flaunting it, too.
Yeah.
She's always walking around half naked.
Basically half naked the entire movie.
I ain't mad at you.
Yeah. So they knock Bruce Willis out, take him over there, and they try to get him to take the potion. He's like, no. So the doctor and her bodyguards, Meryl Streep, Goldie Hawn, are chasing him through the entire mansion.
Yeah, he has the immortality. She gives it to him, and he puts it in his pocket, and he's running away.
Yeah. Ends up on the roof, falling off the roof, hanging by his suspenders. And they're like, take the potion or you're going to die.
That's the only way. He's about to fall to his death, so.
Yeah, it's a fall. It is a far fall for him. And he's like, no. So he falls pretty far through a window into a pool.
That was lucky.
Yeah. even though falling from that distance hitting water would be like hitting concrete, but okay.
He smashed through glass. It probably broke his fall.
Yeah, yeah. So he survived, and he went on with his life.
Yep. He died of old age.
Yeah, and was it like 37 years later?
Yeah, about that.
They are at his funeral, and the professor's talking about all the great things he did after 50.
And they look like shit.
Yeah. And basically, they're like, this guy showed that you could do anything after 50. He started a family, climbed mountains, started charities. Because we really don't know much of what he did beforehand, but
He is a legacy that will truly live forever.
he really captured the secret of immortality.
And
They laugh.
Yeah.
And as they're walking out of the church, they fall down the stairs and their bodies just fall apart.
They've been forced to kind of take
Duct tape
care of each
themselves,
other,
yeah.
and duct tape each other, like kind of. I don't know what they've been doing over the years, but they just completely screwed their entire body structure up.
Yeah.
You would think that it would just be a matter of, just put on makeup every day so you don't look pale. But you don't know what they did apparently over the course of like 30 years, but they jacked their bodies up.
Well, I think as they like technically died, but they're immortal.
Yeah, they
Their
did
heart
technically.
stopped beating, so there's no blood flow or anything. So
That's what I
even
meant.
though they're alive, their body's decaying.
Yeah, but I mean, at least for the. Yeah, I guess, but so I get. Yeah, that part's not my.
And that's
yeah,
why one of the
it's
rules is like
explained.
you got to take care of your body.
Yeah, because you will keep living even if your body is kind of like getting messed up.
If your body's dead, yeah.
And that is essentially the movie. It ends with them kind of
yeah.
breaking into pieces and like on a comedic note, like where did we park?
Yeah.
I'm sorry that you didn't like it. That's kind of
for me. Yeah.
That was kind of a bummer. I whenever that movie comes on, I always find that movie funny.
Yeah, I just kind of found it boring.
So I think that. All right, well, I'll let you go ahead. And is there any part of the movie that you did like?
I mean, probably after she first falls down the stairs and her head's twisted around, and she's trying to do things with her body backwards.
Meryl Streep just kind of doing a little bit of physical comedy.
Yeah.
All right, well, go ahead and just break it down then, and you can tell me what you really thought.
Well, story, it's a decent story. I'd probably give it a 5.
Okay.
And like technicals, like everything's shot well, it's acted well, scores well, so I'd probably give it a 7.5 for technicals.
Mm-hmm.
And then enjoyment, I'd probably give it a 4.
That bad, huh? I
just didn't enjoy it. Yeah.
All right. Well, from some of the stuff that you have recommended to me these past little bit, including the one we're gonna watch a little bit later, I think I've kind of found your wheelhouse.
All right.
Well, bummer.
Yeah.
That means I think that means that the only winner of the homework that I've given you was The Burbs, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like,
I think so. Yeah.
Like, I'm trying to think because I gave you Lake Mungo, I gave you Intruders, I gave you Tetsuo, and then I gave you The Burbs, and then I thought that there was one more since this is 6 movies.
Yeah.
I thought I gave you 6, unless after the first one is when we started doing them.
Yeah, I think maybe after the first one.
Well, dang it. So I guess out of 5 movies, I only recommended you a one good one, which was The Burbs.
Yeah.
Which I think is probably the lowest rated out of all of them. I think
Yeah,
I know
that's
your
fair,
wheelhouse. I think I know your wheelhouse. You just have no class.
Yeah, evidently.
Nah. But all right. Well, bummer. All right, I'll go ahead and say this though, because you want me to get to my homework.
Yeah.
Knock at the Cabin. All right. So Knock at the Cabin. It has been a while since I've seen an M. Night Shyamalan movie.
Yeah, and with M. Night Shyamalan, it's a coin toss. It's
And-
either going to be good or be fucking terrible.
In fact, the last time I saw a movie of his in the theater was Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Oh, no.
So I kind of like I've always sung his prayer. I always gave him benefit of the doubt. I've said a couple of times that I think he'd be good at A24, and
Yeah.
that at least he takes scripts that aren't just generic.
Yeah.
So I've always respected the man for that. But you got to admit, much like A24, it's a coin toss whether or not you might like it or not.
Yeah.
So having said that, I'll go ahead and explain. Out in the middle of the woods, we see a little girl named, is it Wen?
Yeah.
She's collecting grasshoppers, just doing little kid stuff. And then big ass Dave Bautista comes out of nowhere, just out of the just
Yeah.
out of the brush, just out of the
Yeah.
out of nowhere, just big ass Dave Bautista comes walking up and talking and starts talking to Wen. Already kind of off-putting right off the bat, because I'll say that like it's creepy right off the bat, because first off, you would never catch me talking to a little kid by themselves alone, like especially in the middle of the forest. Not today, not nowadays.
No.
Even like if my intentions would be 100% pure, but you wouldn't catch me talking to because I think she's like 8 years old, or she's about to be 8.
Someone else sees it, they get the wrong idea. Yeah.
What's this big ass dude talking to this little 8-year-old in the middle of nowhere?
Yeah.
And
big old 6'3", 280-pound Dave Bautista.
Now, I will say this, regardless of what I'll say, regardless of what I think or whatever, Dave Bautista can act.
Yeah, because when he speaks to her, he's like very soft-spoken for a guy that size.
Which is because Dave Bautista, a lot of people just know him from Drax, but like I've seen him in this, I've seen him in the Blade Runner sequel, where he could do very well as just this big, soft-spoken giant of a man.
Yeah.
And actually have some emotion behind it. So, much respect, because not a lot of like fighters or WWE people or UFC fighters can pull off acting as well. But Dave Bautista is definitely, I'd say he's getting up there in terms of having some acting chops. Which
because like most wrestlers just kind of do the Rock thing where they play the same character over and over again in every movie.
Even when he plays in Guardians of the Galaxy as Drax and stuff like that, my favorite parts are when he's like reminiscing about being a dad and stuff like that. I was like, oh man, this dude's sweet.
Batista's talented,
Yeah, so I'm going to just go ahead and say right off the bat, props to Dave Bautista.
Yeah.
In fact, I think he was probably my favorite part of the movie. Just
he's a
right
big part of this movie, All
right, so he starts talking to Wen, the little girl, and he's talking very vaguely. He's sitting here saying how he wants to be her friend, but that there's going to be some tough decisions that need to be made in the next short amount of time. And you're starting to thinking, oh God, what's this guy? But something violent's going to be happening shortly. So he basically scares her off just because of his vague language. Like, she's smart enough to know, all right, this dude's a little off.
Yeah.
She runs inside to her dads. Her dads are Eric and Andrew, is it?
I believe so, yeah.
Eric and Andrew, same-sex couple, which means something, but also doesn't mean anything really. That'll make sense a little bit later, because when you find out that it's a same-sex couple, I'm like, oh God, is this going to be like we're attacking? I thought it was going to be like the movie Red State, where it was going to be like we're specifically targeting this same-sex couple.
Yeah.
Not to be the case, we find out later. So Wen goes in and says, Daddy Eric, Daddy Andrew, there's a dude out here, and there's some people out here with weapons, and Bautista is talking to this girl, and then all of a sudden more people start showing up out of the woodwork carrying like weapons, non-automatic, but they're like just like handmade. One thing is a
melee weapons.
Melee weapons. She runs inside. Andrew and Eric hear Bautista knock at the cabin. You hear, and it's like, what's that? It's the knock at the cabin.
Yeah.
And Bautista is standing out on the porch, basically saying, "Hey, look, let us in."
Yeah.
Let us in, and we're not violent people. Dave Bautista does portray a man who honestly regrets having to make the decisions that he's going to have to make.
He's very apologetic about what he has to do.
He knows that something painful is about to happen, but he does not want to do it.
Yeah.
Hey, look, there's that train.
There's the train.
There's the train. I was worried that it... The train is probably the third host of Body Bag Podcast.
Right?
All right, but Bautista gives them a couple opportunities to, hey, open up the door, let us explain ourselves. They think that these guys are just like Jehovah's Witnesses and like, hey, get out of here. Then they eventually break down into the house, which I was like, this entire time, I was like, I'd have been trying to find a weapon. I'd have been like grabbing a knife from somewhere, trying to bar up the door.
Big old Dave at your door. You try to find something,
Oh, but they find a rickety chair to put in front of the door, which I thought was funny. I was like, really? The guy says that that they have a gun, but it's out in the truck, which I don't know what good that was going to do them.
Right.
Like, there's a gun in the safe, but you leave it out in the truck. Like, I don't know why you wouldn't bring that in with you.
Exactly.
But whatever.
What's the point of bringing it if you're not going to bring it in the house with you?
I mean, I'm sure they thought, well, we're out in the middle of nowhere, but that's exactly where they get you.
Exactly.
So Batista busts in, and Rupert Grint was in it, which I thought was
Yeah.
Rupert Grint was putting on a southern accent, or maybe not southern, but or kind of southern.
Yeah.
It's four people: Rupert Grint, Dave Bautista, and two others who, off the top of my head, I do not.
Two women.
Two women. While you're looking that up, I will also say that the one who plays Eric, the couple, I kept looking at him going, why does this guy look so familiar? I have seen this guy in something, and I cannot for the life of me place it. And then I looked it up. I was like, oh, that's Holden from Mindhunter. Like, I don't know.
Nikki Amuka Bird was the black lady. Like, she looks familiar, but I don't know where else I've seen her from.
You know who she kind of is that the was that the black woman or the
the black woman.
The younger white lady looked familiar. She kind of looked like, if you saw the movie Venom, the Marvel one, she kind of looked like the woman who was following Tom Hardy and telling him about the symbiotes.
That is played by Abby Quinn.
That's who she kind of looked like to me. She kind of had a look of familiarity. Well, both of them did, but Bautista and Rupert Grint were the two recognizable faces for me.
Yeah.
And like I said, the guy who played Eric, the one who plays Holden on Mindhunter. Which, have you seen that show?
I have not seen Mindhunter.
Good show. I'd recommend it. All about delving into the minds of psychopaths. But they break in. Eric gets a concussion. He fell on the ground, got a concussion while trying to fend off one of the people. And they tie him and Andrew to a chair. He comes to, and they basically saying, all right, look, we don't want to do this, but here's the deal. The apocalypse is coming, and the only way to stop it is for one of you to sacrifice each other. Like, somebody here has to be sacrificed.
Sacrifice a member of your family. Yeah.
So it's either going to be Wen, Eric, or Andrew. Yeah. We're not allowed to make the decision for you, nor are we allowed to kill any of you. You have to make the decision, and if one of you gets sacrificed, then doomsday will be averted. Obviously sounds like a crazy person. Meanwhile, Dave Bautista is saying all this with a calm demeanor, trying to be as he's trying to be as sympathetic and non-threatening as possible. Meanwhile, Rupert Grint's character,
Grint's gone fucking batshit.
Redmond, which, to be honest, I kind of agree with. His name is Redmond in the thing.
Yeah.
And honestly, I was kind of on board with him because he was like, look, what you're saying doesn't matter. Like, they're not going to believe you. Just like get to the point. Which I kind of agree. I was like, yeah, in fact, you're off-putting. Talking about this nonchalantly makes me feel even more scared because you're coming across very culty. I'd be listening to Rupert Grint's character, who obviously is like, look, man, this shit is like completely messed up. I don't want to be here and all this stuff. You know what? These little pleasantries don't matter. Like, just get to like, they don't care who you are. So I was like, yeah, kind of. Basically, they have 4 chances to sacrifice somebody. I don't know how they make the time, like how they know, all right, it's time, but they ask
all
him.
4 of them have been like getting visions of everything they needed to do. So
yes, but I'm talking about like, oh, it's time for you to make a decision. I guess they knew that they had like X amount of hours, so they just divided it up like whatever. So
each of their deaths opens a judgment upon the world. So
yeah, no, I get that.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is like. I didn't know if they're like, oh, it's been 5 hours. Now it's time for you to try to do this. Let's try this again.
I think it was once every 12 hours.
All right. Well, let's just say it was once every 12 hours. And they say, are you going to sacrifice somebody? They said no. And Rupert Grint is like, is starting to get on his knees, and he's scared. He's crying. He puts a cloth over his face, and Bautista just hacks him right in the head.
Yeah.
Kills him. And then Bautista turns on the news and says, a plague has now been unleashed upon the earth.
Yeah.
Turns on the news, and it shows that a giant tsunami has engulfed, was it Oregon?
Yeah, like a big part of the West Coast.
And it said, see, that was because you guys didn't do that. He said, you have until the next morning to make a decision. Next morning comes, they do the same spiel. What was the actress's name? The one who gets it next?
Abby Quinn.
Her character they're like tending to their to the victim's wounds and everything, and they're trying to be as nice as possible, saying we're not crazy, we've got these visions and all of this stuff, and it's like it's just very off-putting. Like it just sounds very culty, and she basically says, "I'm going to be the next one to go. I'm begging you. I got a son, please. I know this is an impossible ask, but you need to sacrifice somebody." And they're like, "Fuck no," and then kills her. And another plague has been unleashed upon the earth. They turn on the news, and I think this one was a virus. A virus has been unleashed upon the or has infected a bunch of people that'll kill kids and stuff like that. Now, at this point, I'm kind of like, this is a kind of a smart narrative, because I'm like, they're basically using all of this stuff saying, see, this is proof. But literally, I think it was more of a commentary about how of the kind of stuff that we get on the news, because I looked up at Google as soon as like halfway through this, and I was like literally you could turn on the news and attribute anything to doomsday. And that was probably the point. School shooting, that was doomsday. Coronavirus, that's Armageddon. Natural disaster. There's been 23 natural disasters in 2023 alone. And then I went to Google even further and saw there was 2 murder stories, news about a recent flood, and Russia sending out punishment battalions. I was like, they could have easily just been like, if they just flipped the news on any point, if any of those stories came on, they could have been like, see,
yeah. And what was it? Andrew's one was like, like he could be timing all this out, knowing all this is going to happen.
It's like the tsunami news was stuff that they predicted like 4 hours ago, and it's like, they predicted that 4 hours.
Happened like 6 hours before the tsunami hit, so it's like,
Which I'm with him. I'm like, and literally, I think that was the point. And if that was, then that was a good narrative. I mean, like, the news is just so like doom and gloom right now that you could easily start a cult and attribute everything to like, this is Armageddon.
Yeah.
After that, Andrew and Eric break free, and Andrew makes a bolt for the car because there's a gun in there. Eric is inside trying to fend off Batista, and the other actress, I forget the woman's name. I forgot the actress's main names.
Nikki Amuka Bird.
She chases him down to the car, breaks his leg, or almost tries to break his leg, or just tries to like, I guess, sprain his kneecap or something like that.
Yeah, just kind of stop him from fleeing.
Yeah, but he manages to kind of like throw some dirt in her eye, jumps in the car, goes for the gun, gets the gun trained on her. Now, at this point, I was like, I know you're not a violent man, dude, but shoot this chick.
Yeah.
Like he sends a warning shot, shoots past her, lets her run away.
Yeah.
Which I'm like, dude, that is so stupid. Why would you do that?
Right.
Like there's already been 2 dead people, and your significant other your husband is in the cabin with your daughter.
With Batista.
Kill this woman.
Yeah.
Sorry, but
you have enough problems as it is right now.
Yeah. So he goes in to stop Batista, gets the gun trained on him. The woman comes out of nowhere and is about to tackle him, but she gets shot.
Yeah.
Another plague has been unleashed upon the earth. They lock Batista in a bathroom, which I thought was dumb because there was a big window right there.
Right.
I was like, are you really about to lock Batista up in this bathroom where there's a big ass window for him to jump out of? And then once more, they hear him break the window and then open up the door.
See if he went out it. Yeah.
To see if he went out it. I was like, even if he did go out it, keep the door closed. Like, what? Right. What is opening that door going to accomplish?
Yeah. If he goes out the window, he better get trained on each of the front and back door. Get ready for him to come through.
So
don't
of course,
go in the bathroom. Yeah.
So Batista was hiding in the shower, jumps, tackles him. Now he's got the gun.
Yeah.
Puts on the news, says, "Look." And I think the last thing was that there was a cyber virus that went across and caused a bunch of planes to crash.
Yeah. Planes are now falling out of the sky.
As all this is going on, Andrew is like, I don't believe you guys. You guys are full of shit. Eric is like slowly starting to believe them.
Yeah.
Andrew's like, dude, you're concussed. Like, you're not thinking straight. Which I'm like, yeah, you're concussed. You're not thinking straight. Batista, basically, he's like, the time is up. You guys got to make a decision. He goes out to the back deck with a knife, and he says, he gives them a little backstory, which, again, some good acting from Batista.
And he's like, once I kill myself, you got, like, a couple minutes to make this decision.
He's telling him story about I was a coach for a girls basketball team.
Yeah.
I love coaching kids. You know, they take your advice and blah blah blah. He
was like, I want to see it tomorrow for these kids.
Again, damn good acting by Bautista.
Yeah.
And he basically slits his throat and kills himself as rain clouds start forming. Like, it looks like it's about to storm.
Yeah.
Eric is now fully on board, thinking all of this is true.
Yeah.
Oh, and by the way, at this time, we've had a couple of flashbacks to their history.
As a couple, yeah.
Yeah, as a couple, in which
not being accepted by parents,
adopting
their daughter, getting attacked in a bar for being gay. Yeah.
Yeah, one of them was even... They had run in with Rupert Grint's character earlier. Yeah. He was like a hateful guy who they saw at a bar. Eric says, hey, look, kill me. I'm at peace with this. And essentially, Andrew shoots there. Andrew's kind of like starting to believe it too. Andrew gets killed, or Andrew shoots Eric.
Yeah, because I kind of put it together that each of the people that were there
were the four horsemen.
4 horsemen of the apocalypse. Yeah.
I think it was malice, nurturing, guidance, and healing.
Yeah.
And Andrew goes and collects Wen, who was off hiding, and they drive to a nearby diner that's up the street. They go in, see on the news that all of these things that had taken place over the past 24 hours, the tsunami, the cyber attack on the planes, all that stuff was dying down.
Yeah.
And they attribute it to, well, the sacrifice was accepted, and then Wen and Andrew drive off.
Yeah, get to live their life, yeah.
Okay, so that was Knock at the Cabin.
Yes.
All right, so a couple things. I guess I should say if I have a favorite scene. I'll go ahead and say just any scene with Bautista in it, just him acting, because he does I think he was the
crush it in this movie. Yeah,
Bautista was by far the best actor. I mean, everybody did their acting fine, but Bautista was surprisingly like the best actor of this movie. So I'll just go ahead and attribute to his ending speech. And later they find out that everything that they were saying was true in terms of like who they were, their backstories and whatnot. So that'll be my favorite scene. I will say, good movie.
Yeah.
Good movie. I enjoyed this movie. And it was... I'm glad that I got to see a movie from M. Night that I was like, hey, you know what? Not bad.
Yeah.
Was it perfect? No. Did it have some scenes that I was like, come on now? Yeah. But overall, I thought it was a pretty decent movie.
Yeah. For me, this might be one of my top movies for this year.
I will say, though, at the end... I kind of wish they didn't leave it open-ended because they never say for certain one way or the other. Like,
what do you mean everything stops?
Yeah, but that still could all be coincidence. That still could all be coincidence.
No.
There's no definitive
Everything
proof.
just stops once they make the sacrifice.
Yeah, everything.
And you're like,
everything
that's coincidence? No,
everything,
get out of here.
Everything eventually stops at some point.
Big storm clouds were forming and immediately just dissipated once sacrifice was made.
You could have easily written this in a way where it was like, yeah, it was all seriously coincidence. Like,
yeah, but they didn't. They showed everything stopped after the sacrifice.
I know, but what if
showing? Yeah,
let me ask you this:
it's not open ended at all.
I say it's open ended because there is no actual definitive proof that all of this is like true. Because they could have because I guarantee you, if they went to the diner and then they saw all that stuff was still going on. Like, the world's not ending, but all, that tragedy shit was still going on. They would have been like, oh, so they were full of shit. And they just made me, they just wrote me into believing that was true. Because that was the whole point that's the whole point I was making in the middle where I said, if you turned on the TV, you will see tragedy going on. And
you're saying it's open-ended, but they show you them riding down the road with the sun shining.
So?
Happy ending.
Just because
they
something is happening.
The apocalypse, yeah.
I know, but
it's not open-ended at all.
Oh, I choose to believe.
I will fight you on that. It's not open-ended at all. What other ending do you need? Do you need God's voice to come down? No apocalypse is happening.
No, all you needed to do was just because there's natural disasters happening and then they stop doesn't mean anything.
You had tsunamis, a virus happening, planes flying out of the sky all in the span of 2 days.
I know, but I believe.
And then I believe that was after the sacrifice.
I believe that was just part of the initial smart storytelling where it was like, if you just put on anything on the news is just filled with such bad shit going on all the time that you could easily
I get what you're saying, but
be
what
like,
they went with these natural disasters were so over the top that if it actually did happen like that, it would probably be close to like Judgment Day.
Because if you popped on and saw, oh yeah, coronavirus and stuff like that, eventually, I mean, they eventually came up with a cure. Would you have been like, oh, somebody must have sacrificed their kid because we have a coronavirus cure now?
No, but if all this shit's happening and like tsunamis halfway through hitting the shore again just dissipated.
Well, I think that it was being intentionally hyperbolic like that to enforce that kind of narrative.
Yeah, I just don't see how it's an open-ended ending.
I think it's just open-ended in that, like, all right, it's fine. They believe that. But I'm just saying, if they went to the diner, and it said, yeah, all the stuff is still going on, it still doesn't necessarily mean that it was the end of the world.
Yeah, true, but they didn't. Everything stopped.
Well, then that's kind of my, like, I believe that the movie was intentionally supposed to be open-ended. And I think that was probably the intent.
I don't think it was.
Because M. Night loves fucking twists. And I believe that was the twist that it was building towards. Of it just being kind of open and like, well, maybe it did. Like, maybe. And in fact, if the twist was that, all right, well, I choose to believe that it was intended to be open-ended. So should I just go with my breakdown real quick?
Yeah.
Technical 7.5.
All right.
Shot very well. I always like a movie that's nice and isolated. It makes the actors have to, pull their weight, which, like I said, Bautista was doing a lot of the heavy lifting, which is good because he's a strong man. Story. I was going to say 6.5 just because Andrew and Eric made a bunch of dumb decisions, especially near the end. When it came down to them, like, opening up, like, they didn't prepare a bunch. Like they should have. Like Eric had a straight line for the car. Saw that what's her face was chasing after him, and still let her like bust him in the kneecap. But for enjoyment, I did say 7.
Yeah.
So overall, I still think it was a good movie.
Yeah.
I'm going to enjoy it even more knowing that Dave is wrong. It was an open-ended ending.
It's not.
It's an ending.
Everything just stops though. Like if all these natural disasters slowly
they didn't all completely stop.
Yeah,
they didn't all completely stop. They said that the flooding, the most intense part, has subsided. They just said for the virus we haven't had any deaths in the last 2 hours. That's just vague enough to be like, all right, the worst of the flooding is over. It hasn't just miraculously gone away, but the flooding has, the worst of it was over. The virus, okay, it's been 2 hours since our last death, so it's kind of tapered off a little bit, which means if death stopped happening 2 hours ago, that means it would have stopped even before they killed Eric. So the whole point was, that's why I'm saying it's open-ended, is like all of this stuff, and even the earthquake and tsunami, they were even saying stuff that happened. Yeah, this stuff happened like 6 hours ago.
Yeah, I'm just saying it's not an open ending. It's a pretty self-explained ending.
It's left vague enough for them to believe that they did something. But like I said, all right, so there hasn't been any deaths in 2 hours. Well, that must mean it's all over. The flooding is still here. It just isn't as intense as it was an hour ago.
It's going away. Yeah, it's going away. Yeah.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean anything. Like, it just because it wasn't as intense as it was an hour ago doesn't mean it's gone. But hey, look, man, if you want it to be a happy ending,
it's a happy ending. It's a closed book. There's nowhere left for the story to go from there.
I don't say that there needs to be any more to the story. I'm just saying I think it's open-ended. Our first argument here on Body Bang Podcast. It feels
but
like
when you say it's open-ending, you mean there's more to the story. There's things that are left open.
Open to interpretation. How about that? Is that better? Is that better way to put it?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
I'll say that it was open to interpretation, not open. The story is done. I don't mean to say that there's more to the story. The story is a complete story. I'm not sitting here saying that, well, what happened here, what happened there. The story is a complete story.
Yeah, when I hear open-ended, I hear there's loose angles that need to be tied up that weren't tied up in the story.
When I hear
open-ending, what are you talking about?
When I hear open-ending, I Maybe I mean to say open to interpretation.
Yeah.
Is that a better way to put it?
Yeah, there's very many different ways to interpret this movie.
Then that's what I mean. Maybe I misspoke. Maybe I'm getting the phrases mixed up. I mean to say that I think that the ending is open to interpretation.
Yeah.
But as a story, it is a complete story.
Yeah.
All right. I guess it was just a I guess I just misspoke. Yeah. So that I think we can both agree on, that the story is complete. It's done. There's no more to the story. It's complete as it is. But
don't need a sequel.
Don't need a sequel. I just happen to interpret it one way, and you interpret it another. So, which I think was the intent anyway.
Intent of this movie, yeah.
Oh, so we do agree. I guess I'm just shitty at talking.
Yeah, we just have different definitions of open endings, I guess.
I always thought like an open ending basically mean it could mean whatever you want. But I guess
it's like the story's open for more to be added on.
Oh, no, that's not at all what I meant. Yeah. I just meant from now on I'll say it open to interpretation.
Yeah.
So, yeah. As a whole story, it has a beginning, middle, end. In fact, it's perfect as a closed story like this.
Yeah.
So, and again, I enjoyed it. I was glad to see that M. Night had a movie that I was like, oh, you know what? It was filmed good. I wasn't annoyed. Even the little kid was competent.
The kid's acting was good, so yeah.
Yeah, kid's acting was good. And I do like it as an open ending, which is what I thought was the intent. Not an open ending, sorry, open to interpretation.
Open to interpretation, yeah.
Which I thought was, initially I was like, man, I think you should have like gone one way or just stuck to you should. But the fact that we're even talking about it like this means, you know what? It was good that it was open to interpretation.
Yeah.
That puts it at like a 20.5 out of 30.
See, I think I had it like 24, 25.
Oh, you mean for your personal?
When I rated it, yeah.
Which is still good for me. I like a lot of movies that end up like around, like if you were to break it down at a 100-point scale, a lot of movies I like are in like 60 to like 75.
Yeah.
So I'll say good on you. Now I need to watch The Visit.
Yeah.
Because I've heard people say that this has been his best movie since The Visit.
I haven't seen The Visit yet.
But I heard good things about that one.
So did I.
Because I think
I thought about watching Old, but everyone says that movie's so terrible.
Yeah, I've seen the reviews for that one, and I know the twist, and that seems like that would be a movie that I would watch just to be. I'd have to watch that with somebody. You can't watch Old by yourself. I love that we were sitting here. I was going like, wow, Mom and Dad's first argument on the show, and then it turned out, oh no, it was just because Chris misspoke and he meant to say open to interpretation, but they're literally in agreement.
Yeah, I mean, like movies like this, you're always gonna have many different interpretations of the ending.
Yeah, much like with the Inception, which I like it being open-ended like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Open to interpretation.
Interpretation, yeah.
All right, so I guess I'm willing to continue this homework stuff into next season.
So am I, definitely, yeah.
Because I can't just leave it at only 1 out of the 5 movies that I gave you turned out to be good. So now, having said that, and this being our last, this is our last homework and our last review of the season, like individually. So before we move on to House on Haunted Hill, which I'm going to let you take over.
All right.
What was your least and what was your most favorite of your homework?
Least was probably Tetsuo.
Okay.
And then
it was just too much for you?
Yeah. And then my favorite's probably The Burbs. Yeah.
For me, I'd probably say my least favorite was 30 Miles from Nowhere.
Yeah, that was one you did not like at all.
And I did like Ginger Snaps.
Yeah.
Oh, I think I remember the other one that I gave you. The other one was Intruder.
Yeah, that was the first one. Yeah.
That was the first one. So I gave you Intruder, Lake Mungo, Tetsuo, The Burbs.
Oh, what was the other one that I liked?
Genetic Opera.
Genetic Opera, yeah. So 2 that I liked, yeah.
So you had, because I knew that there was another one. I just couldn't remember. So you thought Genetic Opera was okay.
Was pretty good, yeah.
And you did like The Burbs. I didn't like 30 Miles from Nowhere.
Yeah.
But my favorite was probably Ginger Snaps, which I might actually...
Good classic movie, yeah.
Which I might have all of these... I might just put out reviews in case people who haven't listened to the thing. I'm doing my 31 days, 31 reviews. I might put all of those in this 31 days. All right. Well, I said I will step aside, and if you want to go ahead and at least get us started with House on Haunted Hill, not the 1959 version.
1999 version.
Oh, but I will say this because
Yeah.
I said it all started to make sense.
Yeah, let's get into that. Yeah.
And it all makes sense because if you've seen House on Haunted Hill is a classic, but have you
Yes.
ever thought, I wonder what House on Haunted Hill would be like if it was directed by William Malone? Because that's what I found out 2 minutes before we started.
You directed this?
Yeah, it was William, which I kept sitting here going, man, why am I getting Fear.com vibes from this movie?
Man, that's...
Then I found out, oh, it's our
Yeah.
old boy old Billy Malone.
Oh man, William.
So I'm guessing you
He has
didn't.
such a... Yeah, I didn't know, but I mean, he got something right.
I will say that I'm not going to say whether it's good or bad, but I will say that this was more enjoyable than Fear.com.
Yeah.
But go ahead and take it from there.
All right. So
You want to
House
start with
on
start off with a one sentence sum up, if you will.
Yeah, that's what I was about to do.
Oh, sorry, my bad. I'm going to shut up.
House on the Haunted Hill. You can have a husband throwing a birthday party for his wife, and they invite 5 guests into this haunted house. And if they survive the night, they get $1 million.
Very nice.
And whoever doesn't make it, the rest of the people get that cut of money. So
Not a bad deal.
no. And this movie, I always forget about like the opening scene of this movie.
Oh yeah, I was like, yeah.
It's- because they opened this movie showing you what happened into this haunted house, which was like a mental asylum in LA during the 50s. And it shows you the scene of when the mentally insane patients took over the asylum.
You know who the evil mad surgeon was, right?
Jeffrey Combs.
Yeah, old reanimator himself.
Exactly.
Which, when I saw that, I was like, oh, okay.
I mean, this movie has a pretty solid cast.
Oh, I was won over when I saw him, and then I saw Jeffrey Rush.
Jeffrey Rush, Taye Diggs, Ali Lautner.
Mm-hmm.
A very, very 90s cast. What was the
Chris Kattan.
Yeah. Famke Janssen playing his wife.
Oh,
Yeah.
you want to say what his name is?
Was it Stephen Price?
Yeah, an obvious nod to Vincent Price.
Yeah. So it follows Stephen Price, who is a amusement park millionaire, makes his money off of ride
Scary
gimmicks
rides.
and scare rides and all that. It shows him showing off his new wife while having a phone conversation with his wife, who's saying, "I want to have my birthday party here. I sent you a guest list. You know, this is what I want." He said, "Okay, cool." And
I gotta
he
say-
shreds her guest list.
Mhm.
And he writes down 5 names to invite because, you know, paying homage to Vincent Price, husband and wife absolutely despise each other.
I will say that I liked his amusement park.
Yeah.
You,
Have
twice.
you ever had
Yeah.
a roller coaster start at the top? What? Riding up the elevator and then like, oh, what's happening? I don't know. So it happens. Falls with a television screen. It's like, oh, that was a ride.
I love that like his rides have gimmicks to make it look like it's a faulty thing and that you're gonna
Yeah.
die on these roller coasters. Like one person thinks, oh, something happened and the track is gonna like get sabotaged and we're all gonna die. I thought that was pretty cool as a gimmick.
Yeah, and then after he types down these 5 names, he leaves the room, and then you just see all the 5 names get deleted, and a whole new 5 get put in.
Ooh.
Yeah, 5 people who all had something to do with the original asylum.
Which we eventually find.
Yeah, you find that out. So the 5 people arrive at the party, which is Taye Diggs, Ali Lautner, Chris Kattan.
Oh, what's that guy's
Yeah,
name? Some Peter Gallagher. Peter
Yeah.
Gallagher. Because I kept thinking that was Eric Roberts. That was Peter Gallagher.
Wait, yeah.
He's the
As,
one we eventually find
doctor,
out.
Yeah, this doctor, and you got Bridget Wilson, who used to be a TV host. They're all here to get their money, and then you have the guy who owns the house. What's his name? Carl.
Are you talking about Chris Kattan's character?
Yeah, I think so. The guy who owned the house.
the one who didn't want to be there.
Yeah,
His name, I can bring it up real quick because I got the thing right here. That was, or his name, Chris Kattan plays Watson Pritchett. Watson Pritchett.
yeah. So when they arrive at the house, you have Watson Pritchett kind of like rushing them into the house.
Yeah, I think Stephen
all
Price
Yeah,
is like, I'll give you like a sum of money for letting us do this in here.
yeah.
And he just wants
So
to
they
get
just
out.
like rush them into the house, and they're asking questions like, I don't know. You have to ask Mr. Price when you get in the house.
Because Pritchett said that he grew up in that house, right?
Well, he grew up with his family owning the house.
Oh, okay. Because
I
I
don't
was
know
like,
if he ever stayed the night in there.
well, we eventually find out he does because he's like, he recognizes some of the stuff that was in it.
Yeah, well, he grew up around the house, like saying.
Oh,
I
but
don't
he
think
probably
ever
never
stayed
spent the
there
night.
past. Yeah,
Oh, but
he
he's
always left for a certain time. Yeah,
he knows the inside of the house somewhat.
yeah. Like he was trying to leave before he gets them all in the house, and
Mhm.
Vince Price is explaining the rules to him all. He's like, okay,
Stephen
can I get
Price.
yeah, Stephen Price. He's like, can I get my money now so I can leave? Sure. And as he leaves, all of the windows and doors get slammed shut by steel barricades.
Yeah,
And he's
much
like,
yeah.
this is what I was trying to avoid.
Much like in the first one, the all the entrances are barred up and you can't leave until dawn.
Yeah. And he's like, oh, well, we're all going to die now. They're like, what are you talking about? He's like, the house is alive. They're like, yeah, okay, dude.
Which if I felt that strongly about it, I would have just told Stephen Price. I would have just told him, just mail me my check. If I really believed that this house was as haunted as he's terrified that it is, I wouldn't have gone inside. I'd just been like, just give me the money, wire it to me, and yeah, have fun.
I think he was trying to get his check because he knew Stephen Price wasn't coming out of the house the next day.
Oh, because
Try to get the money first, yeah.
Well, that's what I mean. I would have just said, hey, like, give me the money up front, and then I'm out of here.
Yeah, I need the money now, yeah.
Just mail it to me, or not cut it close. I got to be out of here in 30 seconds.
And so his wife comes down. She's like, who the hell are all these people?
Uh,
And Stephen Price is like, I don't know. I shredded your list, invited 5 people, but these aren't the people I downed, so how would you change my list? She's like, I didn't. And
yeah, I forgot. I forgot. Just as a side note, I forgot how fine Famke Jensen is.
yeah. And she's like, you know what? I'm not even going to deal with this. You guys do what you want. I'm going to go take a bath.
Yeah,
Get ready for bed. Yeah.
And then for the next like 20-30 minutes, it's kind of like rinse, lather, repeat of everybody splitting up.
Yeah, everyone's splitting up and then someone disappearing. First, former game show host, blonde-haired girl, she did this because she wanted to be famous by capturing ghosts on camera. She does, and then she's killed.
Remember, this was 1999 when stuff like that would have definitely sold.
Yeah, but definitely done well. And so she kind of disappears. Everyone's like, "Where's she at?" And they start blaming Stephen Price for this because they're like, "You set all this up." He's like, "No, I have nothing to do with this."
Just out of curiosity, I don't know if you know or if it was explained. The decision that we are in this house to begin with was made at the beginning when Jensen's character, or Jansen's, is it Janison? It's Jansen.
Yeah.
When her character is like, she's in the bathtub and she saw a documentary about this place, the haunted asylum thing. Did it say how much time passed between her saying I want it here and them actually being there?
No, I could imagine it's probably like a couple weeks or something like that.
Okay, because I was about to say what we eventually find out later. I was like, this would have taken some time to pull off, but if it had,
there's definitely some time between like the beginning when he's showing off the theme park and
okay,
when the party
that's all I
happens,
was
yeah.
that's all I was wondering.
Yeah,
Continue.
yeah, and so Stephen Price is like, I don't know what's going on, so he starts looking at through the security cameras, trying to figure out what's going on, and he sees the ghost doctor on the camera, but he thinks it's someone his wife hired to be in costume or whatever.
Yeah, at this point, him and his wife both think that the other is, or they're
Trying
both
to kill him, yeah.
yeah, are trying to like do something like that. I think that whole subplot was kind of forced but
It very much goes back. That one was in there to just kind of
just because it was in the first,
because that was the main plot of the first movie. Yeah,
yeah. That I think that bit was a little bit forced, but
yeah.
But I will say, though it is, Jeffrey Rush is very, very entertaining on screen as a substitute Vincent Price character.
Yeah, I enjoyed his performance.
So I will say that he was part of the thing that was winning me over in the beginning. I was like, oh my god, I love Jeffrey Rush.
Yeah.
But yeah, they both keep saying how the other one is trying to kill them, and they're just resentful.
Yeah, and then he sees his wife is missing from her bed, so they're all searching for her. Next, see her getting shocked in the electroshock therapy station.
Which you would think that. I'll talk about that later.
You would think
For an abandoned place.
Yeah.
For an abandoned
You would
place.
think there'd be that much electricity there.
Yeah, that's what I was. That's one of the things I was going to say. For an abandoned place. Yeah, how is all this stuff still working?
Well, I guess Pritchett's character, his family takes care of it because they own it.
I was going to say either that. Oh yeah, either that or I was going to say Vincent Price paid to get the electricity turned back on or all the stuff turn on or whatever. But
That could also be the case because he's supposed to be like an eccentric millionaire.
that's why I was
So,
asking, like how much time had passed, because
Yeah.
like the time enough for them to like get the house like going.
All set up, yeah. And, they're doing everything they can to shut off the shock therapy, and they finally do, and the doctor pronounces Stephen Price's wife dead.
Yep.
And he's like, I didn't do this, guys, I swear. So that means one of you guys are the killer. And they're like, no, we all see how much you hate your wife. Obviously, you did this. So they lock him into this.
I love that they all just immediately turn on.
Yeah, they're like, yeah, obviously you did this. So they lock him into this chamber thing, which I don't know what to call that.
Well, yeah. Well, obviously it was made to do some kind of psychological torture to whichever
Is in
patient was in there, because it was. I forget what those things are called, but it's a picture that if
Like
you
a moving picture, yeah.
yeah, moving picture kind of thing from like the asylum was big in the 1930s, so one of those motion picture things that I'm just assuming that it's meant to like psychologically break you.
Yeah.
Which I don't know why he didn't just close his eyes. I mean, Jeffrey Rush, he's not shackled up and forced to like what, but he puts on the eyewear.
Yeah.
He kind of like grabs onto he like kind of like sets himself up as if he's a patient, and he's like he didn't need to do that. He could have just closed his eyes, because that's where they lock him up. So, I mean,
They lock him up in there, and then Tay Diggs and Allie Lautner go look for the other girl. They're like, still need to find her.
yeah.
And he's like, well, I'm going to stay here with him. So, Blackburn, the doctor. He's like, I'm going to stay here with him.
Blackburn, the doctor, the Peter Gallagher doctor, yeah.
Yeah. So he's like, turns on the machine just to fuck with him.
Yeah.
Because he was actually plowing his wife.
Plowing his wife, and they were in on this whole thing
Yeah.
to make it look like she died.
Yeah, and now they're trying to come up with a plan to get one of the other people to shoot her husband for her. And she's like, I don't think they're scared enough. I think they're going to need another body. So she brutally kills the doctor.
Stabs Blackburn and
Yeah, decapitates him.
cuts his head off.
Yeah. And while all this is happening, they're looking around and they're like, we haven't seen Blackburn for a while. So they go down there to check on him, see a big, pool of blood, and they open the machine that Stephen Price was in, and Blackburn's head's there. And they're like, what?
That woman works fast, apparently.
Yeah, and they're like, what the hell? So they run out of there, and they see Stephen Price running down the hall. It's like, I need help. House is alive. I need help.
Which she must be super strong, too, because did she, like, drag his body off somewhere?
I think
Stephen
so,
Price?
yeah.
So she kills Blackburn, cuts his head off, goes to where Stephen Price is. He's, like, out of it delirious because he got psychologically...
I don't know if she drug him off, or she just kind of opened the door and let him
wander
off, all, disorientated.
Delirious.
Yeah, delirious. So Allie Lautner's like, you need to get away from me. No, you're a psychopath. Get away from me. He's like, help. And she empties the clip of a gun on him.
Terrible shot, by the way. Like,
Yeah.
just blindly shooting.
Yeah. Which is good luck for Stephen Price.
Yeah, which we find out later.
Yeah. So they leave the area, and then Veronica Jansen comes in the scene. Basically tells Stephen Price how much she hates him, but how much she's going to love to take his money. Oh, turns out he's alive. Another plot twist.
I was wearing a bulletproof vest.
Yeah. So they start physically fighting, and he throws her through a wall. Which then you got this black CGI smoke.
The darkness.
The darkness completely envelop her. And
Turns out there are ghosts.
Yeah, he's like, oh shit, we need to go.
Because at this point you're thinking, oh, this was all orchestrated. That both this wife and husband had elaborate plans to fuck with each other. And it turns out that these ghosts are actually real.
Yeah. So he's running up. He's like, we need to go, guys. We need to find a way out. They're like, you're supposed to be dead. He's like, just go. Yeah, let's go. We need to get out of here. And they all start getting chased by the darkness. And they get to the top. Where, like, we could probably pull, like, one of the graters and stick a thing, just open up one of the windows for a little bit. So they do that. Allie Lautner gets out. Cable snaps. Tay Diggs gets stuck inside. Vincent Price and Pritchett were both enveloped by the darkness.
Well, Pritchett got enveloped first.
Yeah. And then right before Tay Diggs gets enveloped by the darkness, you think, oh, great, he's not surviving either. See Pritchett goes pull on the pulley system to open up the window and let him out. Yeah. And as they're sitting on the edge, really nowhere to go, they're just happy to be out. They're also there with the envelope with $5 million in cashier checks.
Yeah, that
Yeah,
Stephen Price had written out earlier and
yeah.
said if you guys all live through the night, then you get a
Making
million
sunrise, you
dollars.
get so they get $2.5 million each.
Not bad.
Not bad.
Well, that was also in 1999, so
Yeah, so even better.
even better.
And
And
that is the movie.
did you stay for the post-credit scene?
No.
In the post-credit scene, it's all black and white footage. You see the asylum patients basically torturing the Price husband and wife for all of eternity. They're like strapped to a gurney table while the asylum residents torture them for all of eternity in the afterlife.
Oh wow. I've watched this movie at least 20 times.
Mm-hmm.
Never stayed for the post credit scene.
Only reason I knew about it was just because after watching it, I went and every time I watch it, I go and I look on the wiki just to kind of like scroll through to see some other like that's how I found out about William Malone.
Yeah.
And then I saw at the very end it said in a post credit scene. So I was like, oh really?
Oh wow.
So you said before we even started this, your words were, "I know it's not a good movie, but I still like it."
Yes. And as a critic, I saw so many problems with this movie, but also as someone, I saw this movie for the first time when I was like 9 or 10 years old.
Oh, it's
So that's
definitely.
the crazy thing. Yeah, yeah,
Well, I'll tell you one thing. Like, I texted you when I was like 12 minutes in, and I said,
yeah,
you know what? I'm kind of here for this. And, it was a lot due to Jeffrey Rush.
yeah.
I love Jeffrey Rush, and seeing him as kind of like a stand-in Vincent Price kind of character.
Yeah.
I was like, he's not Vincent Price. He doesn't have that aura that Vincent Price has, but
That gravitas, yeah.
I do enjoy seeing him on screen. Like not I've seen him in plenty of other stuff and he's always entertaining, but this I kind of like him as this like sleazy. He's a amusement park mogul, rich guy who hates his wife. He had one of the funny lines in the beginning where he was on the phone with his wife and somebody said, he's like, "Sorry, I had to take this phone call." Somebody said, "Oh, was it business or pleasure?" He said, "Neither. It was my wife."
Yeah.
I was like, I love this dude.
Oh, yeah.
I can totally see why you would find this entertaining. Like I was doing my best to watch this and not compare it to the original, but
'Cause when you do that, you start running into like, oh.
but there's so many nods and so many like it trying to be the original, but not
Yeah.
that I kind of had to.
Yeah, exactly.
Like-
yeah.
Like all the way down to him calling himself Stephen Price. I was like, every time you call each like she kept like they kept saying his knife Price. I was like,
Yeah.
yeah, we know. Like you're
We get it.
it's you're referencing Vincent Price, and the fact that they were very over the top with them like hating each other. That I was like, I kind of we saw two movies in which Vincent Price played a man who like hates his wife. That and The Tingler, and
The Tingler, yeah.
but in The Tingler, and in even that situation, I was like, they obviously hate each other, but I could totally see them that this just being their kink, where that they just hate each other and then they just have wild, passionate sex, like when everybody else is gone.
Yeah.
But I don't get that from at this point. I'm like, dang, you guys hate each other so much. I can't even imagine you guys like even hooking up in the first place. Like,
Oh, I mean, they give little tidbits of information to explain how. Like, he calls her trailer trash farm girl.
yeah, it was like, well,
You
I guess
imagine he probably was setting up like a carnival somewhere, and like
she put on that Southern Belle charm, and
he sees her, yeah, and then
I will say this. So this was Stephen Price's plan. Hire a group of people, trick people into thinking that the house is haunted, let people believe his wife is dead, let people think that he killed his wife, hope that somebody wouldn't shoot him in the head, come back, murder his wife, and then I guess run away. Like,
well, they said he had plans to like murder his wife, but you never actually see the plan that he had to murder her.
yeah, like we know that he was aware of his wife's infidelity and planning on pinning all of this stuff on him, but
Yeah.
I don't know what his plan was. Like I don't know what his like. All right, I have this all laid out that this is how it's gonna go. I don't know what his.
Maybe his plan was to murder her and pin it on Blackburn.
Also considering that the list, this new list that was drawn up by the ghosts, I guess,
Yeah.
included Blackburn. So, but Jeffrey Rush, Stephen Price, he had his own list.
Yeah.
So these people were invited like last minute. Blackburn wasn't even on the list.
Maybe Blackburn was on his list, and
because I was like, so he heard about all of this, but Blackburn wasn't even meant to even be there.
Yeah, there are some plot holes in this movie.
Yeah, and
there are plot holes. The CGI doesn't
hold up,
doesn't age well.
Well, I was also going to say that's why I was the editing is what made me go, this kind of feels very Fear.com-ish with all these Dutch angles and the editing where it's like things moving in fast motion and things being blurry to just kind of seem disturbing. And then when I looked at who was William Malone, I was like, oh, that makes a whole lot of sense because that is the exact same stuff I was complaining about in Fear.com, even down to the Dutch angles.
Yeah. Maybe I needed to watch Fear.com as a kid to like it.
Maybe. But again, like I said,
you enjoy this one, but you haven't seen it till now.
I enjoyed Jeffrey Rush, and I can't also fault it solely on the... Well, I can, but I can't say that it's the only one that's ever had these issues with technicals because from 1998 to like 2000 and like 20 or 2003...
Like so many movies were like that.
I said this is kind of giving me Fear.com, a little bit of Ghost Ship vibes, and I didn't mention one other, but I was like, it has that feeling. That's just kind of what movies were.
Period, yeah.
So,
would it surprise you to know there's a sequel?
Not for a movie like this. Like in all honesty, this seems like I wouldn't put it past a movie like this to be like, and there's a sequel. Who's in the sequel? Or tell me what is the? Do you have like the wiki up? Tell me the.
I'm bringing it up right now. It came out in 2007.
What does it say? Is the synopsis?
Directed by Victor Garcia.
Sounds familiar.
So it's straight to DVD, just in case anyone was wondering.
What was the like 1 or 2 sentence synopsis that it gives?
Okay. Ariel Wolf is the sister of Sarah Wolf, the survivor of what happened 8 years prior. Which at the time, So they decide to go back to the house. Ariel and her friend Paul go back to the house, and really explain why they go back.
And I guess the house is haunted.
Yeah. I watched this movie a couple of years ago. I can't remember a damn thing about it.
Oh, the sequel?
Yeah.
I'll also say that before I forget that one of the things that was kind of like... Well, halfway through, I kind of already figured what the twist was going to be. I kind of thought, all right, in the original, it was all Vincent Price trying to kill his wife. It was all an elaborate scheme. I bet you that a lot of what's happening right now is really her trying to kill Stephen Price. And I turned out to be right on that. And then, even further, I was saying to myself, all right, because they gave away that twist in the halfway point, I was like, I bet you that it's going to turn out there are really ghosts. And then it turned out there were really ghosts.
Yeah.
And then I was like, all right, I'm going to have a final guess. I'm going to guess that Pritchett is actually the reincarnated ghost or the descendant of the evil surgeon. That one wasn't true, but I thought that's where it was going. But even the ghosts weren't really a twist because they gave away that something supernatural was happening at the very beginning.
Yeah.
When the letter got retyped. So I was like, you guys are kind of just giving away all of these twists way before you should.
Yeah, but that is another plot hole, is, the list getting retyped.
Uh-huh.
Like, how the fuck does the ghost of the house know that, like, oh, people are planning to come here, like, 7 months from now. Let me make sure we get the right people here. So
it pretty much puts it out there that the ghosts have power outside of the house.
Yeah, and then I think one of the big things I kind of remember from the second one is that none of the ghosts have been able to leave the house.
But apparently they can.
There by Dr. Van. Yeah.
So, I mean, with a movie like this, you have to be like, all right, well, if you're going to make a big thing out of pointing out all the plot holes, you're going to be here for a little bit. So you might as well just go ahead and accept that it's going to happen.
This movie's just dumb fun.
Yes, I'll agree with that.
Dumb fun, yeah.
What else? I'm looking through my notes here. I pretty much said everything. Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
And it's also a 90-minute movie, so it's not
so it doesn't overstay its welcome.
Yeah. I will say, do you have a favorite scene of the movie?
Favorite scene? Probably the one where Rose, gets separated from the group and she's following what she thinks is Taye Diggs. And it leads her to a pool of blood and she almost gets drowned in it, yeah.
Yeah, even that we kind of was like, all right, so there are hallucination and ghosts and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
the twist that there's a ghost at the end doesn't really. You're like, yeah, you already told us earlier. So
Yeah.
like, mine is probably the very beginning when Stephen Price is like giving his interview to these people.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just love. I kind of wish that I wanted to see some more of this amusement park. In all honesty, like
Give us more of the park.
we had an elevator that is made to look like the thing snaps and that you're about to crash. That was cool. Then you had a whole, which I don't know how they did this, but they have a roller coaster that made it look like that it got derailed and that
a beams broke off.
Yeah, but they showed like a one of the roller coaster cars falling off and going off into the. I don't know how they did that. Like, how is that? How does that translate to other people who are on the ride? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I have no idea. Are they just eating off half the people that ride this ride?
Because it's I guess it's made because they have like like some prosthetic things to make it look like some people are getting hurt on the attraction. But I was like, yeah, but how does that so it just was weird. I liked the idea, but I was like, that makes zero sense. I like the idea, truly I do, and I love the idea of an amusement park that a lot of the scares is like, oh, this shit is faulty, and we're gonna die just by riding it.
Yeah, like much of this movie. Love the idea, but once you start thinking too much into it, you're gonna be like, what? This makes no sense.
Yeah. Do you want to break it down?
Yeah. All right. So let's start with the story.
Okay.
Now this is hard because the story is like all over the place.
It really is.
It has so many plot holes. But I love the movie, so I don't want to bash it. But I'm gonna have to give it a 4.
Okay. I mean, I gave it a 3. Like,
okay.
The story. There are a lot of things that is just like, all right, but why? Why did that happen? Or
but why?
How did that happen? Like, even down to Stephen Price's convoluted plan. Like, I was like, I don't know what I don't know what your plan was here, dude. Like you have. I was like, what was the end goal here? Like, I know you wanted to kill your wife at the end, but you had to believe that you were gonna get shot only in your chest. You had to.
Yeah, what if she aimed the gun like 5 inches higher and got you in the head, bro?
You ever seen Dumb and Dumber, where they had a plan and he's like, well, what if he shot me in the head? And he's like, yeah, wait, what if he shot me in the head? Well, that was just a risk I was willing to take. And then I guess he would come back to life and then kill his wife.
Yeah.
And then what? Like, run away? Because they already think that he killed his wife anyway. So even if he were to come back, kill his wife, he would have to go into hiding because people would be like, oh, the story is that this dude murdered his wife.
I have no idea. Yeah. This movie is a movie you kind of have to turn off your brain when you go into it. Because like I said, once you start thinking too much into it, it falls apart. But you can have a lot of fun with this movie.
Technicals?
All right. CGI did not age well.
No.
I'm going to give it a 4.
I gave it a 2.
A 2?
Like, as soon as I started seeing all these Dutch angles, and then I looked down and saw it was William Malone, I was like, oh, this is the same dumb shit from Fear.com. And then it was weird. Like, in the lobby, they kept having this, like, weird light that kept coming in and out of the living room and would, like, shine into the lens. And I will say that some of the visuals had potential. Like, much like with Fear.com, it had potential, especially when Stephen Price was going crazy. Yeah. And he's getting visions of getting attacked by the asylum doctors and stuff like that. And there's like a shot of him like underwater and he comes across a face with a giant mouth. And I was like, see, all of these visuals have potential, but it's the janky editing that just keeps kind of spoiling it. Yeah.
All right. Let's move into enjoyment. You can go first on this one.
Enjoyment, I gave it a 6.5.
6.5?
I can see why people would enjoy this. Jeffrey Rush and nostalgia is what gives me a 6.5 for this because I said while this era and the style of horror isn't great, it is the kind that I would always watch in a group back when I was a teenager. So this was like a lot of my Friday night movies with my group of friends. We just get junk food and just put on a fun, mindless whatever movie, and this was a lot like those kind of movies. So 6.5, it made me feel nostalgic.
I'm gonna give it a 7.
That's cool. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
I think that's right at home between a 6.5 to 7.5. Like, yeah, because yeah,
Yeah. So my total score for this movie is a 15 out of 30. And what
yeah.
was yours?
Mine I think
2,
11.5.
11 and a half out of 30.
Which just like I said, out of curiosity, because I always like I said, not to compare it, House Haunted Hill, just to see what the old tomato meter, just for shits and giggles, gives it
Oh,
a 31% actually, which is actually higher than I thought it would. In fact, it's mine's only our score is only better by not that much.
yeah.
That's the critic score. The audience score is 42%, so it's not too far off. In all honesty,
Yeah. The original has
75.
an audience tomato meter of 78 and an audience score of 72.
All right. And like that, this was not at all the worst movie we've ever seen.
Yeah.
In fact, I wouldn't have even had it in our season of bad movies because I
No.
can at least
Yeah.
watch this and be like, I can understand the appeal.
Should I do what we did with the last movie and read some of the negative reviews for this movie?
We ought to do that. We ought to implement that as part of these reviews.
It has 43 negative comments. I'm not going to read them all.
Okay.
The climatic house versus human scenes were so ludicrous that I half expected Catton to revert to his Mr. Peepers persona from SNL
Oh, Catan.
and start battling the evil ink blocklets with spat out chunks of apple.
I gotta say, as part of my reason why I gave it a low on technicals is that I added acting into the technicals bit, and I was like, Chris Kattan's acting in this was not great. Kattan's okay, but I mean, there was a line like one point in the beginning where he's like, "I want my money, give it to me now." Like it just sounded like I was like, "Dude, you no take two?" Like just for every scene that Jeffrey Rush kills Kattan, I was like, yeah, and I thought it was hilarious that he kept like he failed to get out once, and then he was like, "Well, nothing else I can do." And then all he did was just drink and complain.
Let's see. All the visual bravado doesn't fill in the gaping plot holes or generate any real frights.
True.
True.
Yeah, can't argue with that.
Yeah. Decent special effects and a few scary moments simply don't justify bothering with this resurrected movie concept that deserves to be left sealed in its crypt.
I would say true, but I was like, I still enjoyed Jeffrey Rush.
Right. Fails to deliver even one good boo moment.
I will say that I was never scared at any of this, but
No.
a lot of the times I did watch, I would watch a movie like this and still just kind of, it's like you said, it's mindless entertainment.
Yeah.
Well, it's weird because as I was watching it, I never once was going like, "Oh, this is painful." I've sat through movies that I was like,
Yeah.
"Oh God, I cannot keep watching this. This is so hard to watch."
Well, some Lou Lubinick for the New York Post on January 1st, 2000 called this movie slow moving and yawn inducing.
In some parts,
Yeah, and then William Malone tosses wandering lunatics, mad doctors, and hellspawns into the mix right off the bat, which then makes it all that much more difficult to maintain an air of unease throughout.
yeah, it was
Yeah.
too much like stuff thrown in that it was like stuff that on its own would be scary, but then when you threw it all together, it was like if you have it was an insane asylum with an evil mad surgeon. There's ghosts here, but it's also an evil house and a subplot about two married couples trying to get one over on each other.
Yeah. Alright, this is the last one. Loud, sloppy, stupid, and inept. The film wastes Rush and Peter Gallagher, along with several lesser talents of Janison, Tay Diggs, and Chris Kattan.
I mean, all true.
Yeah.
I mean, it's all true.
Yeah.
Can't argue with it, but I mean, still,
Yeah.
I still watched it and was not upset.
No.
Again, I can understand you being like, yeah, hey man, I still like it.
Yeah.
I don't know what to tell you. Like, yeah,
10-year-old me thought this was a cinematic masterpiece before I knew what horror movies was all about. But,
like all of what you said is 100% true, but I can't help it.
yeah.
And like I said, I watched I watched tons of these kind of movies back when I was a teenager, and like just would have fun with it.
And I'm gonna watch this movie again and again.
Yeah, you know what it kind of felt like? More like it felt like a haunted house, not a legit haunted house, but a haunted walkthrough.
Yeah.
like the ones that you would go to on during Halloween. We have one
Yeah.
up here, a haunted hunt club farm, where there's just you walk through and there's like all these quote unquote scary things that come out and pop. That's kind of what it felt like,
Yeah.
which I can enjoy that.
Yeah.
So we had so that was the last. This was
Our last movie review.
our last individual movie review. I don't know if this is going to be the last one that's going to come out during the season, or we might have one of the special episodes out right after. But
Yeah. Probably
It's kind-
a special holiday ones will be following this one.
it's kind of a bummer just because, I mean, I know we never really stop recording
No.
because even when we're on a season break, we're like, all right, let's start recording a couple episodes so we'll have them to edit for the next season. But I don't know, whenever we get to the ends of these
Ends.
things, we still got one or two more that we need to record.
Or yeah, but coming close to the end, yeah.
There's always
So,
kind of
Yeah. So we appreciate you guys listening.
yeah, and just a quick question. This is season 5.
Yeah.
When we started and ended season 1, did you think that we were going to even get up to seasons 5 or 6?
By the end of season 1? I
Yeah.
thought so, yeah.
You thought by the end, like, all right, we've got
Yeah.
a good rapport going on. I think we
Yeah,
can
we're
make this
going,
work.
yeah. I was like, we could make this work. Towards the beginning, I wasn't sure because I had no idea what we were going to do, but
I was trying to think
yeah.
around what episode where you were like, all right, I can see this working. This guy's not a total asshole, and we can,
I think once we started like getting guests on and all that, I'm like, okay,
once
we're
we
doing
had like
something right, yeah.
once we had Haley Newland for the first time, and we were able to have a third person to kind of we could like take turns like bouncing like conversations like and whatnot. Then we were like, okay, we're kind of seeing how the dynamic works a little bit better.
Yeah.
And it only took 2.5 years for us to finally have our first semi argument,
Yeah.
and all of it because it was a misunderstanding.
Yeah.
But as of this recording, we don't know what the next season is going to hold for us because we have yet to record our final verses to determine who's going to have creative control.
Yes. So you guys stay tuned, and I appreciate you guys listening. Have a good week, everybody.
Peace. Hey, everybody. Thanks for listening to Body Bag Podcast. Be sure to like and subscribe and leave us a comment as to what you'd like to hear us review or any horror movie topics you'd like to hear us rant and rave about.
And while you're at it, you can find us on Twitter at BodyBagPod and on Instagram at BodyBagPodcast.
Thanks, and we'll see you next time.